Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip, and I am Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your day as always. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if you don't like me, you can unsubscribe me. And please converse in the chat with me because I do like to participate in the comments. I have a few people telling me that they're leaving, that there's misinformation, but they're not telling me what the misinformation is. So I go. This is not a cult. Leave at any time. Guys, if I give you information and it's incorrect, please tell me. Please correct me. If I give you an opinion about something that you disagree with, that's fine too. That's not misinformation, of course. That's just a difference of opinion, right? Okay. So, the more that I learn about the individuals that are now out of Scientology, the more I have to wonder who in the hell L. Ron Hubbard actually was to have people follow his bullshit. He was a science fiction writer who wrote the most science fiction than anybody else. Caught on tape talking about making a religion so that he can make money. Tried to, and it's shown because people had witnessed in real life that are still here, that he had tried to sell his work of Dianne Etex to have the psychiatry board use this work, and they rejected him. And he said, okay, well, that's the end of science. That's the end of psychology. They're evil. There are things that people can look up about L. Ron Hubbard and see clearly that there is a difference in what he said and what was actually the case in his time in the military and the Navy, and what he said about that, and actually what's going on about that. Now, people say, okay, but they're Scientologists and there's just tunnel vision there. Well, not so much anymore, and that's probably why I would think that the numbers are dwindling, by boatloads, according to people that actually do know better than me. I'm going by what they're saying. Because people are looking behind the curtain, and people are seeing. What I can't understand is, honestly, what are the active Scientologists that are not children? Okay, because we already know, and I'm going to say it too, it seems to me like it is a child trafficking machine. That's what it seems to me by what these people are saying, what people are witnessing, and what we see, what we actually see. Why does Tom Cruise not talk to his daughter? Why does Tom Cruise not have a relationship with Suri? And trust me, if he was having a relationship with Suri, we would know about it because it would be good publicity for him, and somebody would be sharing that. Does he really believe? How does you disconnect with your kid like that? What did a child do to make her think that you stop loving her? I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand. How does the writings of a fucking madman, seriously, this is not cliche. This guy makes people, if anything happens to you, you brought it on. Now, it's 4:20 in the morning, those that know. There's people there's religions that have the yin and yang, like the Taoism, like I was talking to Russell about, on informants. there was there's I understand that. That's easy to understand. As far as if there's an action, there's a reaction, or good karma, or bad karma, or the energy that you put out there is the energy that you get back here. That's all fine and dandy. But for babies to get sick and for the parents of the babies to believe that your child brought that on from something that they did before or they lived before, how does that make sense to you? Once upon a time ago, you were a child. That's the thing. How does the writings of this guy, and I know that there's cults, I know that, but we're talking about Scientology right now. And you know, I gotta be, here's the thing. Jim Jones, he had a certain kind of charm about him, it appeared like. A lot of these cult leaders seem to have some sort of charm. Where was L. Ron Hubbard's charm? Am I just missing that? I mean, because I just didn't get it in anything that he was doing. Anyway, we got a few stories. We're going to dig into these stories a little bit and let these people share some of the interesting things that I found while listening to them. And we'll talk about some of this stuff. Let's go.
And so I would just like talk to this girl, and I wasn't allowed to use the phone during nighttime, but she caught me a couple times, and then apparently, I mean, I don't remember exactly that whole time. It was a little fuzzy for me, but I read in the report that she said, well, he's been taking the phone, he's not listening to me, so we will no longer be celebrating his birthday this year. My mother is not a well person, and I had been kicked around a lot and put through the ringer. I have a million examples, but it's a long road of being a punching bag and sort of being socially held hostage by my family and also their status. My status is their status, so I can't make them look bad, obviously. I was a very reserved, beaten down person. So when I got to the bottom, I became very bleak, and I saw not very many ways out. So I wanted to end it, and I wanted to get my story out before I did that. All that aside, I didn't expect it to explode. I expected somebody to find it, and I would be long gone by then. But the pain turned into anger. I feel this thing that I was, bullied over my entire life isn't even a thing. It's like I've been staring at a painting of a Ferris wheel, thinking I'm on the ride, and in reality, I'm not a fucking Ferris wheel.
When you say the thing you've been bullied over, do you mean Scientology?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Any inability to communicate effectively or learn, or they just...
You mean being bullied by your parents?
I mean, essentially, through most of my interactions as a Scientologist, the terminals that I work with have I've arrived to them by negative connotation, and then they're usually like, oh wow, he's such a bright kid. I had a lot of pre-recorded personalities to kind of play the part of guy who's fitting in really well.
The two responses would be, oh my God, Dr. Berg's a Scientologist, I can't believe it. And their second question is most likely to be, well, you're his son, you grew up in it. What on earth made you leave? Was it some single horrible thing? Was it a lifetime of abuse? Was it more due to Scientology as a subject, or more due to your parents as people? And it's really hard to answer any question like that in 5 minutes or 5 hours. But what would be the headline for you? Like the reason I left, because it's also not just one reason. But it's
very hardly one reason, yeah.
But how would you address that question?
I was just done. I was sick of it. I'd sort of been targeted because I was different, I guess, as a child. I, sort of expressed certain signs of certain behavioral patterns, I guess, that my parents didn't like. On my journey of figuring out what was happening with me, I realized that I more than likely have been on the spectrum for autism. So, but I lacked the money to get that confirmed with a doctor. But many signs, just for me specifically, it's a very personal thing, obviously. But there was a lot of shock when I was learning about what help I could have had, or these things, these behavioral things that I had as a kid. I couldn't explain it, and my entire life I'd sort of attributed all of these mental facilities or behavioral patterns to something broken from before, mainly because of how my parents treated me. It was, you are upsat or you are a DB, a degraded being, which is completely hot or cold, night and day. In the Berg household, you are upstat or we canceled your birthday, which I actually found a report my mom had written to the HCO of DC. I think it was 12 or 13 or something, and I kept taking the house phone to talk to a girl that I had met online. She lived in some other state.
Yeah, so that was Dr. Eric Berg, the keto guru. That was his son. So Dr. Eric Berg is a Scientologist, and this is his kid, Ian Rafalko, talking about being really beaten down. Do you hear how sick this is? And before people start with, Well, you're using Aaron's interview there. I am. Aaron uses Tony Ortega's reporting and reports on that, as we know, and he despises Tony Ortega. I do not despise Aaron. As much as, I mean, I've been getting like these really bad, these very challenging, I should say, these very challenging comments in like my videos from 5 weeks ago. Like, catch up, okay? I don't want to keep arguing about Aaron's behavior. It's to me, it's as simple as black and white. I've put it out there. This is what I saw. You don't have to see that. I'm not saying jump on a bandwagon and hate this guy. I never once said that. I said he's got a really good personality, it seems like. However, he's got some issues. And if he doesn't address those issues, there's going to be a big problem. And I feel like he misled a lot of us and that he wasn't completely honest because he has a pattern now of omitting things. Anybody that wants to continue to challenge me on that, I'm done challenging you on that. That's the way I think. That's what I believe. You don't have to believe that. For the majority of you that have questioned Aaron and his actions and stuff, we're on the same page. We don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with me. You know, I'm just showing my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. This is about Ian Rafalko and his story because it was almost like it's okay if he would have ended it all. Better he end it all than make us look bad. It doesn't matter how bad our kid's suffering, as long as we look good. As long as we all look good. You know, it's okay. Oh, I'm a famous doctor now that's like he's the weakest link in my chain. Yeah, got to do away with him. We're going to see a pattern of that. Because, as we know, in Scientology, everything that's bad that happens is something that you put on yourself. Gets worse than that, because it seems like, especially in Kelli Copter's case, which we're going to check into, that Kelli Copter's parents had a problem in their marriage, and it couldn't have been them. It was somebody connected to them that was bringing their negativity. And guess who that was? Their innocent little daughter. So we got Kelli Copter's story to say, and this is like the tip of the iceberg, and that's kind of like a little, what's the word I want to look at? So Kelli Copter has done something that I want to actually check into and look at it in deep detail, and it's Scientology, the iceberg of Scientology. So I do want to check into that. But right now we're just talking about some of the people that have left Scientology and the horrible stuff that they have taken with them. Like, they have all suffered horribly at the cost of Scientology. And I don't understand that. Where is the good work of Scientology that you can use people as collateral? Where is the better or the greater good in that? So Ian Rafalko had some issues, as we just heard. His parents made him feel like a million times worse. He's got his own YouTube channel, I'm sure you guys know. But he's always talking about his dad. And, you know, and I'm sure that he's very angry. Of course he is. And then he's got his dad's fans trying to tell him who his dad is. This guy knows who his dad is. He's trying to tell you who he really is. And you guys are saying, nope, I know you've lived with him for all these years. I know he's your biological dad, but you don't know him. We know him. And I think Ian Rafalko says, because he tells you to stop eating sugar. Yep, that's a reason. Do you know how stupid you sound? Quote from Ian Rafalko. But it's true. It's true. Who are these people? Who are you fighting me against? Aaron, do you know, Aaron, that you're fighting me? Because I said something that you disagree with. Really? There's something wrong with that picture. And people are bringing up this parasocial thing. We're going to get into that. I'm everywhere. I know that I'm everywhere. I'm trying to stay real focused. I know I'm at work and I'm dressed really casual. We're closed right now. But I'm still here doing what I got to do. I was here all night. We had a really bad snowstorm. They put me up in a hotel. So, yeah, that's why I was late on things. And again, I know that I'm everywhere, but let's keep going in. Let's keep going in, listening to some of these stories, because they're like, wow, you know?
Sort of on top of the Scientology layer, I have these sort of unhinged lunatics who are kind of coming after me for misrepresenting someone they do not even know. I've been contacted by many Scientologists who tell me I've committed a terrible crime for harming my father's reputation, even before I gave any details beyond he's in Scientology and he donates millions of dollars. You would think to a Scientologist this would be great. But that was one of the biggest reasons I was disconnected. Because even to Scientologists, and this validated sort of my views at the time, even to Scientologists, it is harmful for people to know you are in Scientology.
So guys, this guy's getting beaten up online. You should see some of the stuff that he showed. He's getting beaten up online by strangers that think his dad knows it all. In the meantime, Dr. Berg is a chiropractor. He's not an MD doctor per se. He's a chiropractor. Chiropractors can't give out medication, but he's come up with this whole diet. You know, if you listen to Ian talk about how his dad got into Scientology and how his dad said he got into Scientology, two different stories there. So there's some conflict there, but here's supposed to be a doctor with common sense, and didn't have the common sense to realize his son might need a dad. Listen, again, I've had problems with my dad. I've had problems with family. I get that. But there is something that is like, that's as easy as just putting up a wall and just saying this person doesn't exist anymore. This person is no longer in existence. And that's something that there's emotion to that. Somewhere in Scientology, emotion is taken out of the game. Yet emotion is something that's so important to being a human being. How do you care about people if you don't have emotion? How are you going around the world in those yellow t-shirts helping people drink water and giving them water, and if you don't have emotion? And how do you have emotion for other people if you can just disregard your kids like that, or discard your kids like that? Why? Because they didn't fit into what it's supposed to look like? That's the problem here. Let's listen to Kelli Copter now.
You have to complete 2 hours of staring. No blinking, no flinching, no looking away, or else you flunk and you have to start again until you can do it for 2 hours. Once I did that, I had to learn to take verbal abuse. They call it bull baiting. So again, we sat on the chairs, my mum would be opposite me and would have to try and find my buttons, so things that would bother me. And she would say some pretty mean things, to be honest. And all I had to do is not react. I was then asked to do these routines on my younger brothers. I refused. I confessed to something. It was news to me. I didn't even understand the concept of business and marriage, let alone have a plot to destroy it. Another reason is that I went to 5 different primary schools. I quickly saw that none of my friends had this kind of life. I learned that my friends had different religions, and theirs sounded more fun than mine. They had gods and celebrations, and we had this guy and a lie detector. They were allowed sleepovers to visit each other's houses. They certainly did not have lie detectors. My parents hated all of my non-Scientology friends. They said they were bad influences on me. They made me look ugly. They made me all these things that they were influencing me to be like, which is just not true. I had great friends, but all throughout my childhood, I never really told anyone what was happening at home. I knew it was a bit weird. I didn't really know how to tell anybody, and I also was so scared of what would happen if my mum found out that I said something, so I just didn't say anything. The more time that I spent with non-Scientologists, the more I realised that something was wrong. Things were not all bad. We had Christmas, we did family holidays, and sometimes it seemed like I had finally done enough to show that I could be a part of the family again, that I was finally good enough to have a normal life, because at this point I believe the only reason I wasn't having a normal life was because I was really bad. We moved house one last time as a family. I was 11. We lived in a beautiful house, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a swimming pool. The only thing I didn't like about it was that it took longer to clean. I started going to a school I really loved, and I started to join every extracurricular thing I could find. I wanted to stay in school as late as I possibly could, and music was the best. I did all of the music things. I joined a samba band, a wind band, choir, a jazz orchestra, shows. My school even had free music lessons, so I took up trumpet and piano and singing. I finally felt like I belonged to a group, and I was always encouraged, and I'll always be grateful for that experience that I had. However, in my normal life, I became very depressed. I was doing pretty well with my grades. I was asked to complete extra GCSEs. Wish I knew that nobody checks your GCSEs. Wish I knew, but I do now. I even got a early morning paper round at the weekend. It took me 4 hours. I would do it on foot, and I would get paid a $5. Can you believe that? A $5. But I wanted my own money so desperately. Whenever I needed new clothes or new uniform because they had holes in, I was always reminded of what an expense I was. And I really wanted to unburden my parents from my needs as a dependent child. I was working really hard, and I was trying to do well and overachieve to please them. And I was just kind of made to feel like an inconvenience. And I was always under threat. The things I loved could always be taken away from me. They didn't like showing up to school for parents' evenings or things like that. I would usually just go by myself. My mother and I would start arguing more and more. She tried to stop all my activities, and I disobeyed. I would spend weeks rehearsing for a concert, and then on the day she'd be like, nah, you can't go. And I went anyway. Friends would come and pick me up to take me there because I wasn't going to let anybody down. This would make our relationship completely unstable because now I was a disobedient teenager, breaking the rules, going to concerts, being a badass. And let's just bear in mind here, by the way, guys, I never got into any fights. I wasn't drinking. I didn't do drugs. I didn't have a boyfriend. All I was doing was just stuff related to my school. That was it. Therapy, every week after my sessions, I would be interrogated by my parents. They would ask me, what did you say about us? What did you tell your counselor about us? And I honestly didn't say anything about them for such a long time because I was so scared to. It was like, if they find out I've told somebody, then I'm going to be in big trouble. So I didn't for a long time. My school phoning my parents about my eating disorder really made them angry, and they were really angry with me, and our relationship just completely broke down. Now, nobody was talking to me except to yell at me or to fight me. I turned 16 in November 2010, and 2 months later I would be told I had to leave.
That's incredible. There's so many sad stories. Serge's story, Kelly's story, Aaron's story. He had a twin brother. If you guys, he had a twin brother. His twin brother is no longer on this earth. So they all have very, very sad stories to tell. How you could, Scientology, it doesn't seem to be able to, it squashes the individual. It's 4:20 in the morning. If you know, you know, right? I started this video yesterday, but with everything, I had to continue on today, so. What I'm saying here is not about the 420. Is that Scientology gives excuses to why things aren't going well. And it's always somebody, the weakest link, they don't give you the tools to fix the troubled child. God forbid you fix the troubled child. Nope. You force them into thinking a certain way, and if that doesn't work, you disconnect from them. There's no fixing. There's no tools. It's an empty tool chest with a bunch of friggin' excuses because they're a suppressive person in their other lifetime. How are you supposed to fix that? All of the auditing, all of the cleansing, all of the niacin, all of the programs that they have, and I don't know them all. I'm not a Scientologist. I had a few of you calling me Osa again. That's like the stupidest thing. I can't even argue with that because I can't prove something I'm not. I don't care. I'd rather talk about things that matter. I mean, that's like a real give up type thing. Oh, you're Osa. That's your problem. Nope. I'm bringing you critical thinking and you're telling me you're too stupid to understand it, so you'd rather call me Osa. Instead of trying to dig in and trying to build yourself up, you'd rather chisel me into something that you think I am because that makes you cope with it better. That's very Scientological. I think so. So again, yeah, Scientology gives you excuses to why you act stupid. You know what I'm saying? And to why you treat your kids the way you treat your kids. Instead of teaching them and being there and helping people flourish and grow and their independence and their specialities that makes them individuals, Scientology squashes that. For the sake of what? That's the biggest question. Because Scientology is all about auditing. That's what I keep hearing. So what the hell? Clear. What's your idea of clear? Like, you guys have been at it for a while. Somebody tell me. What's going on here? This is a cult that destroys people. And these young people, especially, is just...
Like, even just the nature of a Scientology auditing session, as a child, engaging in an auditing session, there's a power dynamic there that is very, I don't know, it creates almost a PTSD like situation later on, where when you go into an auditing session, as the person receiving the auditing, you are indoctrinated, you are taught, you know, you're not allowed to leave that room.
Audited.
I was the 5-year-old being audited on. So the older people, because, you know, in Scientology, they don't look at children as, you know, we are adults in little children bodies. So I'm 5 years old getting like Johannesburg sex checks, you know, where they're telling you, like, have you ever had sex with dead bodies? Have you ever had sex with, you know, animals? Are you a communist? And I remember being like 5 years old being asked this shit. And it really was for no good reason other than it was auditors at the Phoenix org. Our org went up to, I believe it was grade 2. You can learn to be an auditor up to grade 2 because we were a smaller org. And they were just looking at me as like, even though I'm 5 years old, in their mind, I'm like a 500-year-old man. Like, I'm this like 500-year-old man that's, you know, I was born into Scientology, and this is what they tell you. The fact I was born into Scientology means I'm so intelligent. I picked my parents. And the reason why no one knows about Scientology except for me is because I'm one of the chosen ones. I'm one of the most highly intelligent elite.
So I'm going to continue diving into these stories. I'm going to put up the links for you guys to check out these people a little bit more. There's a few things I want to check into. I want to check into that full interview. It's been a long time since I've seen the full interview of L. Ron Hubbard. I want to break that down. Seriously, I want to break that down. I just want to hear what he has to say. I don't want to hear what other people have to say. I want to hear what he has to say. So I do want to break that down. That's a video that I want to work on. I want to continue on with the kids' stories in Scientology, but also I want you to check into their own YouTube channels. I want to continue on with true crime and with things that have nothing to do with Scientology. The theme, it's always going to be, listen, that's unjust. You know, that needs to be fair. We need to look at this way. I'm not saying you need to believe in that, but let's look at it that way. And then you decide. And anybody that wants to show me something a different way in the comments, do it by using your head, please. Please don't go around calling me Osa. That is not an argument that I'm willing to have because I can't prove something I'm not. Don't go around telling me that I'm not seeing things. Show me. Show me what I'm not seeing. Don't just label me something. Don't be a Scientologist about it. Articulate. And if you can't articulate, I don't know what to tell you about my comments. There's a bunch of emojis. Put them up there. Maybe they'll do better than some of the people that are just being accusatory. Because I'm not going anywhere. All right, guys. So that's it. I got a few more, like I said, videos that I'm excited about that I want to do. I wanted to just talk to you about these two people, and let's check into them. I definitely want to go over the Kelli Copter iceberg. I want to go over that and break that down. So yeah, those are some things that I want to do that are videos that are coming up. Outside of the Scientology, I'm into right now looking into the West Memphis 3. If you remember the movies Paradise Lost, about the 3 guys that were accused, and then they did the Alford plea of the God, it was a horrific crime in Arkansas with 3 little boys. They were 8 years old, and anyway, that's a whole story. Look into that, because things have changed around in that story, and now the guys are out, and there's proof that maybe they were actually guilty. So, yeah. Okay, guys. This is Issues with Toddy One Skip. Thank you so much, and thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing, and the comments. I do like the comments 99% of the time, except when somebody yells "Osa" at me. I don't know what to do with that. Guys, take care of yourselves. Be better today than you were yesterday. Not half as good as you're going to be tomorrow. Thank you, guys. It's Toddy One Skip. I'm out.